You're probably familiar with the fall of Glenn Greenwald. I'm not going to go too much into Greenwald. I've actually known him for years. At one point, considered him, I don't know about a friend, but friendly when he was on the left, and all of his rage and all of his resentment was aimed at other people, because that's how Glenn determines whose political side he's on. That time, it was the insiders on the right and other people that wouldn't accept him. Glenn's whole life has been about who's not accepting him, who's not giving him the love and adoration he deserves. And it's led him to move around to different countries and different cities and different political movements, always never realizing that the emptiness in his soul can't go away, no matter how vicious he gets, no matter how many people he attacks on Twitter. But it was really funny when this guy, as you've watched him sort of go down further and further and become more and more pathetic, whether it's the fact that he's a Russian propagandist, as he's now on a list in Ukraine for being included with Rand Paul and Tulsi Gabbard, if it's because Putin's got something on him or Putin's paying him, I have no idea. And it doesn't really matter. What matters is just like this guy who is angry all the time, literally a walking heart attack at everyone, resentful about his place in life, always needing to prove himself, being just completely soulless, empty, like an empty husk of a man. And when you thought he couldn't get any lower than going on Tucker Carlson's show all the time and showing up every time to defend Matt Gaetz for the fact that Matt Gaetz is being investigated for trafficking 17-year-old girls. And it's always the people that Glenn defends where he's got some similar incident in his past. You may know that when he was literally almost 40 years old, he met his now husband, who was 19 and homeless on a beach in Rio. The normal love story and how it goes, and a complete equality there, equivalence between the two of them in power and economic mobility and the rest. Glenn didn't need to dominate a relationship with somebody younger who knew less than him. Totally not. But now he has sunk further than the Tuckers and the people. He interviewed Alex Jones, somebody I can't find it here right now, he referred to in the past as a total fraud and a lunatic and all things that Alex Jones is. Alex Jones, as you know, lied about Sandy Hook. He said there were crisis actors there. Can you imagine you've lost your little 6 or 7-year-old massacred by an assault rifle in this school, and this hairy barbarian on radio and TV is out there saying that you're lying. You're making the whole thing up. There's nothing to it. So Glenn went to interview him, and he tried to justify it on Twitter. He's so pathetic, it's hard not to laugh. But he tried to justify it on Twitter by saying, oh, well, what? You can't go and interview people? People interview people they don't agree with all the time, blah, 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 blah. And you got to know that one of Glenn's shticks from the past is always going off on mainstream media for being too weak, which is something I talk about, too, actually. They're too weak, and they don't do tough enough interviews. But, oh, my God, this interview. I hope Glenn doesn't run into Alex anywhere. They may have awkward sort of silences around the coffee bar, around the water cooler at work, a little sort of, how you doing? What are you up to this weekend? Because that's the level of sort of the disturbing level that Glenn was reaching, and sort of his sycophancy in his kissing Alex Jones's ass. He towards the beginning of this interview, a couple minutes into this interview, Glenn told Alex Jones, quote, how disturbingly handsome he was, unquote, and what a, quote, natural charisma he had. That's always a really tough interview, Glenn. You did that right, man. You were right to go off on all these weak liberals who never give tough interviews, but like you. We wish we could be like you. Oh, but, there's more, and I'll read it to you. I mean, this guy defamed people with Sandy Hook, but I'm going to read you what Glenn had to say. I want to ask you a little bit about Sandy Hook. I know the expectation is I'm supposed to come here and bash you over the head about Sandy Hook. I have no interest in doing that. I don't give a shit what the expectations are. That's Glenn's whole tough guy shtick. He's tough. He's really tough. He got beaten up in on a radio show when some guy slapped him across the face. But he's a real tough guy. He's got 14 bodyguards and lives in a mansion in Rio where he won't lower himself to being around the normal people, the regular people. I wanted to ask you a question. I'm interested in myself, which is, you said that you made mistakes. It's a mistake to smear, attack, defame, slander the parents whose kids were murdered to the point where they couldn't identify all of them with an assault rifle. Obviously, one of those is the stuff you said about Sandy Hook, not the evil, vicious right. The stuff you said. We watched you in a film come very clean about the fact that you made statements that turned out to be untrue. God, Glenn, you're so tough. You obviously spent a lot of time, reflective time. Yes, I picture Alex Jones in the dojo somewhere, sitting with his hands like this, clasped, thinking to himself, what have I done wrong in my life? And, is it all been for nothing? And what's the meaning of all this? He's not counting dollar bills anywhere. Like his ex-wife claimed that it's all BS and he makes it all up to make money, kind of like Glenn Greenwald has completely switched political sides and loves Tucker Carlson and Matt Gaetz because it makes him money. You're obviously spent a lot of kind of reflective time. I said that already. It's like a soulful Alex Jones, a soulful Alex Jones. People whose job it is to spread disinformation are accusing you, are saying you're a liar. You want to dig in on that a little bit? I mean, we can go further and further. Disturbingly handsome, charismatic, soulful, reflective. These are all terms I know I think of when I think of Alex Jones. I've seen a lot of pathetic mainstream media interviews sucking up to George W. Bush back in the day, Trump now, many others on the way. I've never seen something so pathetic. Honestly, it seemed like maybe Glenn would ask him out on the date at the end, which I'm sure now Glenn, if he ever sees this, will cry and say it means I'm anti-gay or something, as if, he wanted to ask him out on a date. A normal human man, I wouldn't be 1,000,000,000% supportive. Alex Jones, vicious, evil, slandering troll, doesn't care about people. Yeah, that's how close Glenn was getting. Like, it's like they're BFFs for life now. They probably have like a Snapchat. I bet they've got an unbroken snap chain for like the last 20 days, and they're going for more. They may reach 30. Who knows? It's gonna be so cute. I don't want to go into this anymore. Glenn Greenwald's a pathetic hack. He's a loser. He always has. He literally needs about a team of psychiatrists to figure out what's wrong with him, what is so broken inside that he hates so many people, and that he would determine his politics by who he hates and not what he cares for and what he loves. The biggest moment in his life, the angriest moment, was when Rachel Maddow, and probably the most revealing moment, stopped inviting him on MSNBC, and he's like, well, I have a right to go on cable television or something of that nature. Like, she wouldn't invite me on anymore. I mean, so I couldn't go on with her. I had to go on. Maybe you don't go on cable if it involves going on with a white supremacist like Tucker. But that would never cross Glenn's mind because he's a sick narcissist. And does he give tough interviews, soulful ones, handsome ones, sometimes even charismatic ones. How beautiful.